Hello, everybody. My name is Mahael Abdul-Qawi. I'm the founder and representative of the Accountability Party for Human Rights, a political vanguard organization comprised of individuals who have chosen a path of self-awareness and self-understanding to become something more for themselves, for their loved ones, family, and friends, and then if they can, their communities at large. In this video, I want to discuss something I haven't really touched on specifically in a while. I've touched on things relating to it, but I haven't talked about it specifically because it's such a, to me, it's such a topic that should already speak for itself in terms of where we go forward with it. Excuse me. I want to talk about COVID. I want to talk about what this virus is doing to our society right now, how it's being interpreted, how it's being reacted to. It's definitely not being responded. Well, at least in this country of the United States of America, in the way that we are handling this bug. I want to talk about the fear that's being generated for this. We have to move on. As a society, we have to move on from this. And I know, and I say that with all respect and all honor to the people who have sacrificed time and energy, who have lost ones, to the people who have died, to the people who have struggled. I'm currently struggling because of COVID. I've had COVID. I know people who have lost somebody to COVID. I know what the ramifications have done. So I understand what this virus has done to our way of life, to our society. So when I say we have to move on, I'm saying that as the best response. It's not the best reaction, but the best response. So that way we can grow and heal, is that we have to start to move on. We can't keep having these hysteria moments every single time there's a new variant. We did it with Delta. We did it with Omicron. And now apparently there's this, a scientist in Greece, he discovered the fusion of Delta and Omicron. Deltacron, they're calling it. It almost sounds like we're fighting Transformer villains at this point. That's where we're at. It's a real life movie, and we have to get out of it because the virus is going to do what the virus is going to do. It's going to keep mutating and forming, and then we are at a point where now it is on the same par, if not as the common cold and the common flu. It will probably oversee those two, and in 5 to 7 years, we'll call it the COVID flu and the COVID cold. Kids in the fall time, parents of those kids, they'll be like, hey, take a box of tissue to school because you don't want to catch the COVID, you don't want to catch the COVID cold. Because that's what we've always done. Like, have people forgotten, like, history prior to 2020? Have people forgotten how we responded to sicknesses? I know Governor Ron Desantis right now. I'm not a supporter of DeSantis. I'm not saying he's the champion, but I will defend anybody who speaks common sense. I'm not defending them, but I'm speaking the common sense that they're speaking. And he caught flack because he said, when have we ever tested for sicknesses before? And then people came at him saying, oh, well, we test for cancer and we test for sickle cell and all this like stuff. And come on, like, you know what he meant. He's talking about a respiratory thing, like the flu and like the cold. He's not talking about it's that thing where it took maybe 30 seconds to like really hear what he said and be like, he's right. When have we ever? It was that growing up, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people watching this can relate. Around the fall and winter time, especially if you grew up in the Northeast of the United States, like myself, you brought a box of tissues. It was like on like the school requirement that the teachers had. It was pencils, pens, highlighters, composition books, and a box of tissues. That was it. There wasn't like this freak out. It was like, okay, cool. And if you get sick, you stayed home for a couple of days, come back, bada bing, bada boom. Or if everybody got sick, whatever. We never shut anything down. The flu, stay home. Chicken pox, stay home. It's okay. Come back, be fine. There was no this huge disruption. If a bunch of people got it, a bunch of people got it. It wasn't a freak out. Yeah, there was protocols, but it wasn't anything that changed your livelihood. Yeah, it was a very minor setback, and people, again, growing up, I was like, oh man, I don't want to miss classwork. I don't want to miss, a few days of pay. That was a guaranteed, understanding about going out into the world as a human being that, yes, this is a risk. But to the point now where we're like, it's that times 3 now. We're not missing a few days of classwork anymore. We're missing months of classwork. We're not missing just a day or two of pay. We're missing weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, because it's undetermined. And at this point, regardless if you're vaccinated or unvaccinated, that you have to spend this amount of time or you have to wait for the symptoms and you have to see, like, who the fuck cares? Now, I'm not saying that we should go out and cough on one another, sweat on one another, and of things like that. That's idiotic. But we don't have to live in fear, where we have to remove ourselves from achieving education or achieving payment for our work. We don't have to restrict that. It feels hard to kind of break down because it feels like it should already, because we've done this before. Like, I don't know why this common sense is missing. And I don't understand why when this governor who people keep trying to criticize, for one, throughout the whole pandemic, Texas as well as Florida, who Ron Desantis is the governor of, was criticized heavily because they were the most vocal about, screw the mandates, we're going to just have freedom, people can come here, whatever, mask free, blah, blah, blah. And then we fast forward to right now, as in 2022, and people are flocking to Florida because it's the place to be, because there's no restrictions and it's fun. But yet they're still trying to criticize it. Politician AOC, she's been the most advocate for the mandates, criticizing not specifically Ron DeSantis, but any governor like him, but only to be there in the past week and then reportedly today getting COVID. So it's like, if we're going to just say fuck it, why are we still, no, more specifically, why are the elites still forcing these restrictions on the working class people? And if you watch my previous videos, you know why. It's to belittle us spiritually, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Because it's easier to turn us into drones if we're broken down. But in response to that, the working class has to see this and has to take a stand too. We can dictate if enough, there's, in terms of the ratio, there's more working class than there are to the elites. We don't have to follow these mandates. We don't have to live by what they're saying. If we know for a fact, common sense shows and all that, we will be okay. And yes, there are going to be people who will have extreme symptoms and all, but studies have shown, actual science, people who have extreme symptoms also have other things going on too, like obesity, or they're old in health, or they have, um, what is it, diabetes and things like that, where their body is already in a somewhat broken state. So something like COVID will make it just worse. So yes, those people should be taken care of. That's a given. That's like, again, like where a lot of this stuff is just common sense. Me personally, yes, I don't like to say I feel like, but I feel like this is all common sense, and I believe a lot of people will also say this is common sense too. And that it's like there will be people who are hurt, but take care of those. But the majority, but those people and how they should be treated shouldn't speak for everybody else, because in reality, it's everybody else who is able to keep working, who is able to just have a day off or two if they just, take care of themselves. Have to keep this whole thing going. Have to keep the cogs rotating. So why put them away? At that point, society is going to crumble, and then now you guys more dependent on you guys, and that's the whole setup. Over the working class, you really have to see why these are being imposed on us. It's not because for our safety, because if it was for our safety, they would be following it too. But as you can see, the elites, the corporations, the politicians, the celebrities, Hollywood, all of them are casually doing whatever the fuck they want to do. But yet, we, the people that keep this country going, the essential workers, last time I checked, a lot of these things aren't essential. A lot of the elites, a lot of what they do is not essential. It's just a product of a capitalistic country. But the ones who do keep it, but the ones who keep a society going, regardless if it's capitalistic or not, they're the ones who are suffering the most right now. And inshallah, this message gets heard and received, because it's at this, like, we have to move on. And first, can we please stop naming these variants, these alien Star Wars names? It defeats the purpose of people taking it serious after a while. I'm sorry, but